In this video, we're going to show you how to copy a survey terrain model into another file. And so I have my survey work right here, and I have my points turned on, and I'm going to turn my points off just so I can see my terrain model a little bit better. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Project Explorer. I'm going to go to All Point Features. I'm going to go to Annotation, and here I can turn off the name, feature, description, elevation, and all the other options. But I'm going to just turn off all annotation at the bottom there. Okay. And so you can see now see my linear features better, my points without the actual text showing up. And so to copy this terrain model, what you need to do is you need to select the terrain model, and then you need to snap to some location that you're going to use that same location in the other file to place the terrain model or copy the terrain model to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom here, and I'm going to snap to that point location there. So I came up onto this linear feature, I did a middle mouse click, and it jumped down to that location there. So once I have it snapped, or once I have it selected, the terrain model, and I'm snapped to a location, you can go up to Edit, Copy, and it goes to the MicroStation Clipboard. And if I would do an Edit Paste right now, which I don't really want to do, but I just want to show you that it is in the clipboard, you can see how it's floating on my cursor there at that same location where I snapped. And so I'm just going to hit F4 to that for a second. Now that we have the terrain model in our clipboard, I'm going to switch files to a blank file created from the iProject 3D PowerGeopack.dgn. And so I'm going to go ahead and open up this other file, this blank file. I called it terrain model. And again, it's just a blank file. If I do a fit view, you won't see anything. And I'm going to reference in that previous survey file that I just had opened. And the only reason I'm referencing this in is so I can snap to that same location that I did when I copied the terrain model. So here's my survey file. I'm going to hit OK to that. I'm going to go ahead and close down. If I do a fit view, there's my survey file. Now again, what I want to do is I want to snap to that same location. Now I'm going to go ahead and do an Edit Paste just so you can see that it's still pasting from my clipboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to snap to that same location. Once it's in that same snap location, I'm going to left click and paste the terrain model in there. Now to verify that it's in there, I'm going to go ahead and go to my reference dialog. I'm going to turn off my display so I don't see my survey file anymore. And in there I should have my terrain model. Now the thing that I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and detach my survey file, because the only thing I want in this file is just my terrain model that I copied in. And so depending on what version you're running, this may or may not work. It should work for most of you out there, but if you're running an older version of PowerGeopack, you might get an error saying you can't detach this file, but for most people it should work just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do a detach. And now in this file is only this terrain model. Now we got to do one more step, because when we copy a terrain model, once we copy it and then we paste it, what happens is it gets pasted as a MicroStation terrain model and not a PowerGeopack terrain model, meaning we don't have the correct feature definition applied to this terrain model. Now to set the correct feature definition, what you're going to do is you're going to go over to Task. You're going to go up to General Geometry. So I'm going to go to Civil Tools. I'm going to slide down to General Geometry, and I'm going to select the Set Feature Definition. Now when this Set Feature Definition dialog comes up, there are two feature types. There's linear and surface, and we're working with the surface, so we're going to switch it to surface. And the feature definition, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to go down to my terrain display, and what I'm going to set it to is I'm going to set it to the same feature definition that I had in the other file, which was existing boundary. And if you wanted to, you can give it this surface a name, but I'm just going to leave it as existing boundary. And all you have to do is select the element and then reset to complete. Now if you select that element, you'll see that your properties change to what you're used to, just a few items in here, and you can see that it's set to existing boundaries. And if you want to, you can turn on, say, the triangles and see that it is truly a terrain model.